In this episode, I actually get to test drive the Rowdy with the new clutch! Are you ready for that quick costume change? Because I filmed this like 2 weeks ago. Alright, we're keeping it a bit short because I'm literally just banging through this. Where did we leave off? We had the sump baffle plate left out and the sump back on, so I've literally thrown it back on the engine crane and got the sump off again. I'm going to have to quickly clean that up and baffle plate in, reseal the sump back on, and then we can continue chucking the flywheel on, the clutch on. Hopefully we'll get a gearbox on today, but it depends how long this weather holds. It's looking pretty nice, so I'm feeling optimistic. Yeah, we're cracking on. So here she is, suspended in all her beauty. The engine's floating away. There we have the old sump and the baffle plate down here. I've got a little piece of cloth so that my bolts don't fall out. Lose them all in the gravel. But yeah. Say hello to your crank, your oil pump. I'm going to clean up that baffle plate and clean up the sump, get it sealed up there, and then we can crack on. So we've got the sump cleaned up, got some gasket paste ready to put on that, and under the car, let's play spot the difference. Got a nice little baffle plate in there. Let's get this fitted. So now we've got the sump on, we've got the rear main seal on. It's time to whack the flywheel on. We're going to torque it up to 60 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. And yeah, this is the last time you'll see the engine like this. There she is. What a beauty. Fully installed, 60 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. Next, we've got the clutch to go on, so we sort of align these with this lovely little tool we got from Darkside. Got the bolts, which we are going to go to 20 Newton meters. So let's throw that in the car. Well, there we have it. Clutch and flywheel installed. And yeah, pretty much ready to refit the gearbox. Last time we'll be seeing this for a while, hopefully. Fresh. So I forgot to put this on before the clutch and flywheel. No stretch bolts, so that ain't coming off again. So, to put the little spacer plate between the engine and gearbox, we used the fine trimmer. Cheeky little slice, keeping that bolt down there hopefully, so we can clamp this top half in nice with the gearbox, and then the bottom piece will just be clamped in with the bottom bit of the gearbox. should be alright, but let's throw that in now. So, got the gearbox out again, cleaned it out. We're going to swap the old nose cone for a nice new nose cone. New release bearing in there, then we can start throwing it back in the car. So, pretty much about to throw it in. It's got a new nose cone inside. We've got a new release bearing. We've pinned up there. We just chucked that bolt in all the way and it pins the little pivot so it's not going to fall out while we're installing it. It's got a new slave cylinder on it, and we have removed the output flange from this side of the gearbox. Fingers crossed, it'll just slot in that gap beautifully. So, without further ado, let's throw a gearbox in. So after that struggle, I decided I couldn't be bothered to struggle and get the gearbox in myself. I can't be bothered to bench press it in because I'm no weightlifter. So this is basically what happened. Yeah, took the engine out because I figured we were most of the way there. It was basically the loom, the boost pipe in, the exhaust, the coolant lines, and then the engine was just ready to drop out the bottom. So I grabbed the engine crane and dropped it out again. Had to jack the car up so I could slide the engine under the bumper on the way out, which was quite a stupid idea because I decided to just take the front end off to make it easier going back in, because with this gravel it is quite hard pushing an engine crane when it's fully loaded up with an engine and gearbox hanging off of it. But yeah, we basically, or I, got the gearbox, threw it on the engine while it was just in front of the car because that's so much easier, and then dragged it back in place, threw it back together, which was about 2 hours worth of work, and then bled it all up, bled the cooling system, bled the clutch out, filled gearbox with oil, engine with oil, basically got it all back together, back on the floor, and had a cheeky test drive at night just to see what was what with the wheels that I put on it for some reason. And as it turns out, the wheel was flat, the tyre was flat, and yeah, that kind of halted the test drive quite so much. But clutch worked, it had all of the gears, so that part of the car was fine. However, the next problem was basically caused due to how the launch control works, and while the gearbox was in the garage for one of the weeks, I managed to kick the wheel speed sensor off the end of the gearbox. Now that is the sensor that supplies the signal for your speedo, your like mileage display, and also with the launch control activated on the car, it causes the kind of engine to have a lower limiter at all times because the speed sensor was reading 0, so the car thought the wheels were stationary at all times and it always had the limiter stuck on, which meant I think I'd set to about just under £3,000. It was like 2,700 or something, and yeah, that is just really awkward. So these are some of the videos I thought I might as well have a little drive before I swap the ECU to the standard one and actually kind of drive it on the roads. But this is the first little test drive, so enjoy the rowdy Audi's owl sounds. So, she drives again, and the main problem being we have no speedo. Now, this is interesting because the launch control constantly kicks in, which is quite awkward. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next time we're going to be doing some of this. If you enjoy the Audi build, there's a link to the playlist, and don't forget to subscribe and all those good things. Until next time, peace.